He woke up in a strange room with someone watching him. Sergeant Kane's eyes opened slowly. The ceiling above him wasn't from Earth. It was smooth, glowing slightly, and had strange symbols carved into it. A soft blue light filled the room. Everything felt quiet. Too quiet. His body ached. Every part of him was sore, like he had been hit by a ship. His hands moved weakly over the blanket. It was warm. Too warm. Where was he? Then he heard breathing. Soft, gentle, close. His heart jumped. Kane tried to sit up, but a sharp pain in his ribs made him stop. He turned his head slowly and froze. There, sitting beside his bed, was a girl, not human. Her skin was pale silver, smooth like glass. Long black hair flowed down her back like water. She had big glowing green eyes that looked at him with calmness. And something else. Devotion? She wore a light blue robe, and on her wrist was a metallic cuff, like a small bracelet, but it had a chain attached to it. A chain connected to the bed. Kane's eyes widened. Who are you? The girl lowered her head, her voice soft like wind. I am Valari. You saved me. I now belong to you, Master. Master? Kane's mind raced. He remembered being in a firefight. The alien base was exploding. His squad had been hit. He tried to carry someone out, but after that, nothing. What is this place? He asked, trying to stay calm. You are in the healing center of the Tarasi Empire, Valari replied. You were found wounded. I brought you here. You brought me? She nodded. You were injured after saving me during the attack. I owed you my life. According to my people's laws, I am now your property. Kane blinked. That's insane. I didn't save you to own you. Valari looked up, confused. But I am yours. If you send me away, I will be killed. The law is clear. Kane struggled to sit up again. His body shook, but he managed to rest against the wall behind the bed. Listen, he said. I don't want a slave. That's not what humans do. I don't want to own anyone. Valari looked hurt for a moment, then quickly hid her expression. Then, I will be your servant. Quiet, useful. I will not shame you. Kane sighed. His headache was getting worse. I don't even understand what's happening. A door slid open with a soft sound. An alien officer entered. Tall, wearing dark armor with a symbol Kane didn't recognize. You are awake. Good, the officer said. You've earned high honor among our people, and as reward, we grant you this companion. He gestured toward Valari. I don't want her, Kane said firmly. The officer gave a cold smile. She is yours regardless. The ceremony is recorded. The girl is bonded. What ceremony? When you pulled her from the fire and shielded her with your body, you marked her. That act is sacred to her kind. There is no turning back. Kane stared at Valari. She will not survive if rejected, the officer added. Others will punish her for being abandoned. The officer left without another word. Kane sat in silence. Valari sat still, her hands folded in her lap. He finally asked, Do you want this? Valari didn't answer right away. Then softly she said, I do not wish to die. I do not wish to be alone again. Kane looked away. This wasn't right. But he couldn't just throw her out and watch her suffer. He sighed again. All right, you can stay. But you're not my slave, understand? Valari looked surprised, then she gave a small smile. I will stay by your side, she whispered. Not as your slave, as your protector. Protector? Kane was too tired to argue. He lay back down. As his eyes closed again, he felt a strange warmth near his hand. Valari was holding it gently, and for some reason, he didn't pull away. But deep in his mind, one thought remained. Why was she really given to him, and what else had happened while he was unconscious? I'm not your master, but she insisted he was. Kane woke again hours later. This time it wasn't quiet. He heard humming, soft, musical, and strange, the kind of sound you'd hear in an alien temple. He opened his eyes and saw her again. Valari, sitting on the floor, eyes closed, hands glowing faintly as she traced patterns into the air. Symbols made of light floated between her fingers like dust in the sun. "What are you doing?" Kane asked. Valari opened her eyes slowly, her glowing green gaze meeting his. "Protecting this room, in case someone tries to harm you while you rest." Kane rubbed his face. "I don't need protection, and I definitely don't need you doing weird magic around me. It is not magic. It is part of my bond. My life is tied to yours now." "Valari," Kane said, voice calm but firm. "I told you already. I'm not your master. This whole bond thing, it doesn't matter to me. You're free." She stood slowly and walked to the side of his bed. Her voice was soft, but her tone didn't change. "You may not accept it, but the bond is real. You are my anchor now. If you break it, I will die." Kane blinked. "Die? How?" Valari gently touched the metal cuff on her wrist. "This isn't just a symbol. It connects to my nervous system. It regulates loyalty chemicals, desire, fear, trust. My people created it long ago to keep us loyal in war." "You're telling me that cuff controls you?" "Yes. And only my bonded master can unlock it." Kane sat up straighter. "And how do I unlock it?" "You can't yet," she said. "The system is locked until the bond completes." Kane cursed under his breath. "This is insane. You're saying you'll die if I don't accept you?" "No," she said. "I'm saying I'll die if you leave me." That silenced him. Valari sat down again, folding her legs like a monk. "You may not want me, but now we are connected. I will never leave your side, even if you try to send me away." Kane stared at the glowing lines still hanging in the air, symbols he couldn't read, floating like fireflies. "You don't even know me," he said. "I know you saved my life. I know you risked your body to protect mine. That is enough for my kind. But what about what you want?" Valari tilted her head. "What I want is to live and to serve with purpose. If I am to be anything, I'd rather it be useful." Kane shook his head. "That's not how humans think." "Then perhaps you will teach me," she said. Suddenly, the door beeped. It slid open with a hiss. A woman walked in. Human. She wore a white coat, dark skin, sharp eyes. "Sergeant Kane," she said. "I'm Dr. Lyra, Alliance Medical Team. I just arrived from the Central Fleet, finally found where they stashed you." Kane brightened. "A human doctor? Finally." But Lyra's face turned cold as she looked at Valari. "You're the one who requested full healing priority," she said to Valari. "You burned through half the facility's stasis gel for one soldier." Valari didn't respond. "Do you know what this creature did?" Lyra said to Kane. "She marked you as owner while you were unconscious. That's how she unlocked all access." "I didn't," Kane began. "I know," Lyra cut in. "It's not your fault. These bonded are dangerous. Once they link with a target, it's like a virus. Emotional manipulation, legal traps, political pressure. And once it completes, they become attached. I'm not letting her die," Kane said quickly. Lyra frowned. "Then you'd better be ready to face the consequences. Because by their law, you own her now. If you free her, she might be executed. If you keep her, you're responsible for everything she does." Valari remained silent. Lyra gave him a final look. "Your choice, soldier. Be smart." She left. Kane looked at Valari. Valari looked back at him. Neither spoke for a while. Finally, Kane broke the silence. "I don't want to own you, but I won't abandon you either." Valari smiled. This time it felt different, like a real smile, not a trained one. "I understand. That is enough." Kane leaned back again. Outside, the sky was turning dark violet. Twin moons rose in the distance. Inside, a human soldier and an alien girl sat in silence, one confused, one loyal, but neither ready for what was coming next. She protected him, even from her own kind. Kane stood for the first time in days. His legs were shaky, but they worked. Barefoot, wearing only loose medical clothes, he walked slowly through the halls of the alien facility. Strange lights lined the walls. Doors whispered open as he passed. The place smelled of metal and flowers. Valari walked beside him, silent but alert, like a bodyguard. "Where are we even going?" Kane asked. "I requested exit permission," she said. "You need fresh air, and I need to see who's watching." "Us?" Kane raised an eyebrow. "Watching us?" Valari nodded. "There are eyes here, not friendly ones." As they turned a corner, a group of aliens in dark robes stood ahead. All of them had markings on their faces, red ink, like scars. One stepped forward. "She's not supposed to be outside," the man said coldly. His eyes didn't even look at Kane. Valari moved in front of Kane without hesitation. "She is with me," Kane said. "She's not alone." "You're the human," the robed alien said, almost spitting the word. "The one she bonded with?" "That's me," Kane said. "He's got a problem? She belongs to the sacred caste. Her blood is not for outsiders. You have broken ancient law." Valari didn't move. Her body was still, but Kane could see her hand was glowing faintly. The robed man reached for something inside his cloak. Kane's soldier instincts kicked in. "Don't." Too late. The man pulled out a shock baton and lunged forward. But before Kane could move, Valari struck. Her arm moved like lightning, glowing with blue fire. She twisted the attacker's wrist, dropped him to his knees, and smashed the baton from his hand in one fluid motion. It flew across the hall. The other robed aliens froze. Valari stood between Kane and the man, one foot pressed against the attacker's chest. Her voice was low. "He is under my protection now. Touch him again, and I will burn your mind from the inside." The man looked up, face pale. "You are corrupted," he said, "a slave defending a human." "I am not a slave," Valari replied. "I am his." The group backed away slowly and disappeared around the corner without another word. Kane stared at her. "Where did you learn to fight like that?" Valari turned and helped him stand straight. "I don't remember everything, but pieces are coming back. I think I was trained before I was captured." Kane nodded slowly. "That was impressive." "I will not let them harm you," she said quietly. "Ever." They finally reached the exit. Outside, the air was cooler. A wide alien sky stretched above them, deep blue with rings and distant stars. Floating lanterns drifted overhead like jellyfish. It should have felt peaceful, but Kane couldn't stop thinking. "What did that guy mean?" Kane asked. "Sacred. Caste, your blood." Valari hesitated. Then she said, "My people have a hierarchy. My family was at the top. Royals. But during the war, many were captured, sold, broken. I was taken young. My memories were erased piece by piece. And now they know you're back." She nodded. "And they hate it. Because if I return to full power, I'll be a threat." Kane looked at her closely. "So this whole slave reward thing, it wasn't a gift. It was a trap." "Yes," Valari said. "They didn't think I would wake up, or that you'd protect me." Kane rubbed his face. "You protected me first." Valari smiled softly. As they sat on a bench outside the facility, Kane asked, "Why me? Why bond with a human stranger?" Valari looked at the twin moons above. "Because when I was in the fire, I saw your face. You didn't know who I was. You didn't care. You just tried to save me. That was enough." Kane stayed silent for a moment, then he said, "All right, you protected me today. I owe you one." She turned to him. "We are even now." "Not yet," he said. "You saved me from your own kind. But I think the real danger hasn't even started." Valari nodded. "They will come again. And next time? Kane asked. Valari's eyes glowed softly. We'll be ready. Secrets beneath her collar. The rain started without warning. Thin, glowing droplets fell from the alien sky, casting soft golden ripples across the stone floor. Kane stood under a crystal canopy, staring at Valari as she knelt near the edge, water soaking into her long hair. He had never seen her like this before, silent, trembling, clutching the metallic collar around her neck with both hands. I need to know what's really inside that thing, Kane said gently. You're not just someone's servant, you're something more. Valari didn't look at him. Her fingers shook as she pressed into the tiny seam of the collar, eyes closed, lips moving in a silent chant. The rain danced around her, but didn't touch her skin, as if the air itself bent to avoid her. Then suddenly, snap. A soft mechanical click echoed under the canopy. The collar released. Kane stepped back. For a moment, nothing changed. Then everything did. Valari gasped. Her back arched, light exploding from her chest like a pulse of energy. Her eyes went fully white, glowing so bright they lit up the walls. Strange symbols danced across her skin like moving tattoos, markings that had been hidden under the collar. Kane could only stare. Her voice came out deeper, almost layered. The seal is broken. The rain stopped. Even the wind froze. Valari slowly stood, breathing hard. I remember now. Kane grabbed her shoulders. What do you mean? Remember what? She looked at him, not afraid, not confused, but awakened. My name isn't just Valari, that was my given name, yes, but my title was Vile Teraith, first daughter of the Celestial House, my people's last light. She touched her face and her markings glowed in response. They erased it all. The Empire. They drugged me, bound me, forced me into slavery. But now... Kane stepped back slightly. You're glowing. I know. She smiled faintly. This is what I really am. Suddenly alarms blared through the distance. Red light flashed across the sky. Kane turned to look, but Valari didn't flinch. They know, she said. Who? The ones who bound me. They felt the collar release. They'll come for me now. And maybe for you. Kane instinctively reached for a weapon. He didn't have one. His hands clenched. Valari walked up to him slowly, her body still glowing with strange energy. I can protect you now. Properly, she said. But you need to trust me. He looked into her eyes. No longer timid. No longer soft. There was fire. Now, royal fire. You're not just some girl I saved in a war zone, he whispered. No, she said. I was the war zone. Kane stared at her, speechless. Then his military mind kicked in. We need to move, get off this planet, reach a secure location. There is one place, Valari said. A temple, hidden beneath the mountains. If we get there, I can unlock the rest of my memory, my power. And if we don't, then I'll lose myself again, and this time I won't wake up. Kane didn't waste another second. Let's go. As they ran toward the city gates, sirens still echoing across the alien sky, Kane didn't look back. He had no idea what waited in that temple, but something told him. This slave girl wasn't just a reward, she was a weapon, and someone was very afraid of what would happen when she remembered everything. The Empire wants her back, and Kane dead. The shuttle exploded before it could even take off. Kane hit the ground hard, shielding Valari with his body as debris rained down like burning hail. Alarms howled in the city streets behind them. Civilians screamed and scattered. Smoke filled the air. They were too late. They found us faster than I thought, Valari whispered, her voice tight. Kane coughed, pulling her to her feet. This was supposed to be a civilian port. It was, she replied. Now it's a battlefield. Above them, small hunter ships hovered like vultures, sleek, black, and shaped like blades. They weren't firing anymore. They were watching, waiting. Suddenly, a voice crackled through the city's public broadcast system, cold, male, and far too familiar. This is Commander Vrex of the Tarasi Elite Guard. The escaped genetic asset known as Viel Terath is to be returned immediately. Any human aiding her will be considered an enemy of the Empire. You have 10 minutes. Kane's blood boiled. He just called you an asset. Valari's expression was calm, but her hands sparked with pale blue energy. He used to call me sister. What? My people were bred in labs. I wasn't born, I was designed. And Vrex was the first prototype. He called himself perfect. Then they made me stronger, faster, more stable. He hated me ever since. Kane stepped forward, eyes on the hovering ships. They're going to come down hard. Valari's glow pulsed. Let them. I'm not the same girl they put in chains, but Kane knew this wasn't a fight they could win on raw power. They needed a plan. He scanned the burning dockyard and spotted an old maintenance tunnel, mostly hidden behind broken cargo crates. This way, he said, grabbing Valari's hand. They had smoke in their lungs, blood pounding in their ears. As they entered the tunnel, a drone zipped by above. Kane could hear it scanning, searching. Valari suddenly stopped, raised her hand, and whispered something in her native tongue. The drone froze mid-air, then dropped like a stone. Kane gave her a look. That's new. I'm remembering more by the hour, she said. My collar used to suppress parts of my brain. Now, everything's waking up. Let's hope it wakes up fast enough. The tunnel led them deep underground into old service lines and forgotten war bunkers. The walls were cracked and covered in old bloodstains. No lights, just echoes. They stopped to rest. Valari sat down on a fallen pipe. Kane listened to the distant hum of approaching engines. They won't stop, Kane said. Even if we get off this planet, they'll chase you across the stars. Valari didn't answer right away. Then she said, I don't care. He looked at her. She stared ahead, lost in thought. They erased my childhood. They used my body, my mind. They told me I was a weapon, a tool. But you saw me. You tried to help me when I was just some body in the dirt. You didn't need to. You could have left me. Kane knelt beside her. Valari, I didn't do that because I wanted anything in return. I know, that's why it mattered. There was a moment of stillness between them. Then a loud mechanical sound echoed through the tunnel, like gears grinding open. They both stood up quickly. A panel in the wall opened. Out stepped a figure, tall, armored in gold and black. A Tarasi, hunter. He raised a sleek plasma rifle and aimed it directly at Kane. Valari screamed something in her own language and threw out her hand. The wall behind the soldier bent and cracked like paper, but the rifle fired first. Kane closed his eyes. Nothing happened. He opened them again and saw Valari standing in front of him. The blast had hit her instead. She looked down. A glowing wound burned into her side, but she was still standing, still glowing, still breathing. Kane shouted, Valari! She looked at him, no pain in her eyes. Just fire. Run? She asked, voice fierce. Kane smiled grimly. No. He picked up the dropped rifle, aimed it, and fired. The hunter flew back into the wall and didn't move again. They stood in silence, blood on the floor, smoke in the air. Kane turned to her. You're bleeding. I can take it, she said. I was made to. He touched her face gently. No. You're not just made. You're real. You're you. Valari's breath caught. She reached up and took his hand. And somewhere, deep in the tunnel, the lights began to flicker again, one by one, like the system was waking up. So was she. Bond of fire and blood. The tunnel pulsed like a living creature. Soft light traveled through the walls, racing veins of golden energy that hadn't moved in decades. Kane and Valari walked deeper, guided not by maps but by the strange pull she felt in her chest. Every step made her glow brighter. Every turn brought more memories. Finally, they reached it. a circular chamber made of obsidian stone and carved crystal. At the center stood an ancient pedestal covered in alien runes and dried vines. Above it, floating weightlessly in the air, was a small orb, spinning slowly, like it was waiting. Valari stopped breathing. "I've been here before," she whispered. "When I was still whole." Kane stepped beside her. "What is this place?" She closed her eyes. "It's where they brought me after I was created. This is where the bond begins." Kane looked confused. "Bond?" Valari turned to him, calmer, now but fierce, glowing like a goddess in human form. "There's a ritual, a final link. It's not forced like the collar, it's chosen. If done willingly, it binds two beings forever, sharing thought, memory, emotion, life." Kane swallowed hard. "Forever?" "Yes," she said. "If I complete the bond with you, I'll be linked to you for life. I'll feel your fear, your pain, your joy, and you'll feel mine." Kane didn't answer right away. He looked into her glowing green eyes. She wasn't just a weapon anymore. She wasn't just someone the Empire wanted back. She was someone. Someone worth protecting. "I don't understand all of this," he said honestly. "But I'm here. I'm not leaving you." Valari stepped, closer, inches from him. "Once we do this, you can't turn back. If I die, you'll feel it. If you die, I'll follow." He didn't flinch. "Then do it," he said. Her hand reached for his chest. Her fingertips barely touched his skin. But it was like fire. The chamber responded instantly. The floating orb shattered into light. Energy poured from the ceiling like golden rain. The floor lit up with ancient symbols that spun in circles around their feet. Kane gasped as warmth entered his body. Not painful, not electric, but alive. He saw flashes. Valari as a child, laughing in a garden of stars. Valari crying in a cold cell, her memories being erased. Valari kneeling beside his hospital bed, whispering his name. And she saw him, Kane training on Earth. Kane bleeding on the battlefield. Kane staring into the stars, alone. Then, silence. When the light faded, they stood holding each other. Valari looked up. "It's done." Kane felt her heartbeat as if it were his own, felt her breath, even though she hadn't spoken. They were one now, but there was no time to enjoy it. The ground rumbled. From the far side of the chamber, a hidden door slid open, and a figure walked through, Commander Vrex Tall, armored in jet black. A red crown symbol on his chest. He clapped slowly. Touching. Really. Valari stepped forward, her glow now steady, controlled. Vrex's eyes narrowed. "You've unlocked the bond. You're stronger than they said. I'm no longer yours to control," she said. Vrex raised a small device. "Then let's see how strong you really are." He pressed a button. The ceiling cracked. Kane pulled Valari back as giant machines dropped from above. Walkers, drones, elite guards, dozens of them. Vrex smiled. "You've made your choice, sister. Now face the cost." Kane looked at Valari. "You ready?" She turned to him, and for the first time her eyes weren't glowing with fear or duty. They glowed with love. "With you?" she said. "Always." And then she raised her hands. The entire chamber exploded in light. One human, one slave girl, one war to end. The light vanished. When Kane opened his eyes, the world had changed. The air was hot. The chamber was broken. Walls cracked, stones split, smoke rising. Half the machines had been crushed by invisible force. The others sparked, frozen in place like statues, and in the center of it all stood Valari, no longer chained, no longer silent. Her body pulsed with ancient energy. Blue fire danced in her hair. Her eyes glowed like two stars. Even the air around her bent as if bowing. She had become what they feared most. Free, Commander Vrex stepped forward, his armor now glowing red with emergency shielding. "So this is your final form?" he sneered. A weapon powered by love? Valari didn't answer, but Kane did. No. She's not a weapon, he said, stepping beside her, holding his rifle steady. She's my partner, and you're standing in our way. Vrex laughed, but it sounded bitter. Do you think the galaxy will accept your little bond? A human soldier and a royal lab-bred mutant? Kane smirked. They don't have a choice. Valari raised her hand, and the remaining drones exploded in a wave of blue fire. Vrex charged. His blade crackled with dark plasma as he struck toward Kane. But Valari moved faster. In a blur, she intercepted the attack, her hands glowing as she caught the blade mid-air. The impact shook the room. You were always jealous, she said softly. Because I became what you could never be. Vrex shouted and unleashed another attack, but Kane joined the fight, rolling to one side, firing controlled bursts. He wasn't as powerful as Valari, but he was precise. Together they moved like one defending, one striking, each one covering the other's back. Finally, Vrex made one last desperate move. He charged Valari with all his remaining energy, but Kane was ready. He stepped forward and fired one single shot, right into the power cell on Vrex's chest. The explosion threw the commander across the chamber. He hit the wall hard and didn't get up. Valari stood over him. She looked down, then turned away. He's not worth my energy, she whispered. The silence afterward was deep. Kane lowered his weapon. The war, at least this one, was over. Hours later, a Federation ship arrived. Called by a secret distress signal, Kane had left before entering the tunnels. When they saw Valari, at first they raised their weapons, but Kane stepped between her and the soldiers. She's with me, he said, and she's not a threat, unless you try to make her one. The soldiers lowered their rifles. On board the ship, Valari sat by the window, staring out into the stars. Her collar was gone, her cuffs too. All that remained were faint markings. On her wrists, reminders of who she used to be. Kane sat beside her. So, what now? He asked. Valari turned to him, a soft smile on her face. I don't know, she said. But for the first time I get to choose. He nodded. Wherever we go together. Their fingers touched. And somewhere, deep in the silence of space, something ancient stirred. A bond once made in chains was now stronger than any weapon.